All right, we are good to go. Shuwaski Young joins us right now, former candidate for Secretary of State in the state of Mississippi, active politically, doing a lot of writing, doing some speaking, and always good to catch up. Shuwaski, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, Richard. How are you doing this morning?
I'm well. Appreciate it. Great to be with you. Always enjoy the conversations. I want to jump in and talk a little bit about an op-ed that you wrote that was published in the Clarion Ledger, has been in some other places as well, talking about a crime crisis in Mississippi and maybe even specifically in Jackson and the need that we have to back law enforcement. So why don't you walk me down this road and kind of what prompted you to write this opinion piece?
Absolutely, and thanks again for having me on. So, over the course of the last year, I have had the opportunity to talk with members from our law enforcement community pretty much across the state, from different police officers to sheriffs to folks who are involved in the Bureau of Narcotics, and even some folks that are involved as prosecutors in our state. And one of the catalysts that connected all those particular conversations was, we have to be able to have the ability to have more folks on the ground in all 82 counties to be able to move cases forward. We have to be able to tackle the crime that's actually happening in communities. And it just got me to thinking. And as I continued to have conversations with people, and I guess it was about a month ago, I was fortunate enough to be down on the coast during the State Prosecutors Association conference. And of course, I didn't attend that conference because I'm, not in law enforcement or an attorney. But I had an opportunity to be around a lot of folks who were. And, we continued these particular conversations. And, that is what actually kind of spurred me to, write about this particular issue and also see if I can help be a thought leader on it to come up with some policies that I think would help.
What are those policies? What helps the crime situation that we're dealing with in the capital city and in other parts of Mississippi as well?
Well, for one thing, as I talked about, I think that, we certainly need to be able to hire more law enforcement officers and basically increase their budgets so they can hire more staff and pretty much expand their territorial presence, as I wrote about, in all 82 counties. That's one particular thing. And the biggest point is how we do that is providing more increased funding to the Department of Public Safety so they can have the proper support in all 82 counties. So that's one particular fact. Another particular fact that's really important that folks must kind of, take into effect to consideration is that, just the actual public support for law enforcement needs to be there and needs to be renewed across our state, because you look at places like Jackson, you look at some of the other cities in rural places across the city, and this is not to make, any particular city, feel as if though they're being picked on or something like that. God knows that's not the case. But, we have an issue with crime. I follow WLBT News a lot. They have some great online stories that are always there. And pretty much every day or every other day, you're seeing, horrible, violent crimes that are happening across our state. And I think that comes from a lack of respect for law enforcement, a lack of respect for the rule of law. And that's why I think that we need to focus on policies that will give our law enforcement more opportunity to be able to do their jobs because we need more police presences in these cities. And we need to be able to have more people that can investigate these particular cases and bring them to justice.
Shuwaski, there was a story about, I guess it was about a week ago that came out. Chief Joseph Wade, the police chief in Jackson, came out, and he was talking about the focus when he took office in cutting the homicide rate in the capital city in half. And 5 months into this year, that's exactly where they are. And I think he and others will admit that the number of homicides in Jackson is still far too high, but there is significant work that is being done and an emphasis that's being placed on trying to make the city of Jackson more safe. What do you make of those numbers? What's going on from your perspective with Chief Wade, JPD, Hinds County Sheriff's Department, Capitol Police? All of those entities seem to have a better working relationship than maybe they have in the past. Is that helping in your mind?
I think it actually is helping. Anytime we can see the numbers go down relative to where they were a year prior, that means that, maybe some of those policies actually are scaling into a positive aspect into both the departments and where they're being ran, and also the way our cities are actually being policed. So I think that is an actual good thing. What my position is that, I want to make sure they're able to continue that same work. So whether we're talking about, local police departments or sheriff's offices and things of that nature, I think that's a good thing when they can work together and work collaboratively. And we see that all across the state. And, as I wrote, hey, these are the heroes of our community, but we have a long way to go, because when we still look at, the actual makeup of Jackson and the makeup of Hinds County and how people feel about visiting that particular area, how they are afraid to get gas at night, and how they no longer want to, visit there for their shopping or, even their tourism wants and needs. I think that that's something we have to be able to address as well. We have an obligation of the public trust that people feel safe.
One of the things that you've written about is the importance of family, and it's almost like law enforcement has to stop at home. I mean, you make the point a second ago, there are people who are afraid to stop at a convenience store and try and get a Coca-Cola. Because they might be robbed, and it's senseless stuff. We're not even seeing. I mean, some of the time we are vindictive crimes or crimes of passion or things like that. But it's the stupid stuff that makes it feel like there's a lack of training, a lack of teaching the value of life from a young age. Is that where that has to start? Does that have to start at home?
100%. 100%. We all know, being born and raised here in Mississippi and across the South, that, and it's just a general rule of life, no matter where you are in the world. Your first training starts at home, being taught mannerism, yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, and opening doors for one another and being able to be compassionate and empathetic about other people's feelings and their struggles in life and also their accomplishments in life. But I think that when we get to this place where, there's no respect for adults, or there's no respect for people in authoritative positions, whether they're teachers or firemen or police officers or just a general senior citizen or older person who's an adult in your grocery store, I think that that's a problem. And I think that is what's leading to, what we have as an issue in our state. Look, we have to do something about making families stronger. That's one big component of that particular piece of it. We can't look to blame government for everything that's happening in our communities that really have nothing to do with what can be legislated to change that. That has to be a moral change of the heart, and we have to be able to have mentors in our communities that can help these young men and sometimes young women, overcome the struggles that they actually are feeling in life growing up, maybe within a single parent household. There are a lot of single parent households across the board, not only in the U.S., but also in Mississippi and, of course, also in the Black community. And that's something that we have to be able to own. That's something that we have to be able to face and look to change for the future. And we do that by building relationships and increasing trust with those who are in positions that are actually governing and policing our community as well. I think one of the things that I talked about also is that we need programs in our colleges and universities that provide a pathway into law enforcement careers, and we need to be able to have strong communities that can work with law enforcement to help fight and protect our communities and also help us remain vigilant for the folks that are out there aiming to do us harm. Yeah. Because the fact is, overall, in our state, we're taxpayers and law-abiding citizens, but folks are out there that basically want to be involved in gangs, want to be involved in drug trafficking, and want to be involved in not, bringing home an honest day's work. Those are the folks that, I think that we need to be able to mitigate, their actions in society. And that's what the piece here is all about, as well as being able to build collective partnerships with law enforcement across the city of Jackson, of course, like they already have, but across the state as a whole.
I think it's a good point. I mean, some of those things that you were talking about have been glamorized in Hollywood and streaming services, and it's the kind of the cool factor of being a cartel leader. While on the other side, we see elected officials assaulting immigration enforcement officials, and the respect for our law enforcement. Sure would like to see that grow. Shuwaski, you always make us think. I appreciate the time this morning. You can read the op-ed on the Clarion Ledger website, clarionledger.com. Always a pleasure to visit, my friend. Thanks so much.
Hey, man, thanks so much for having me on, and God bless you. Have a great day.
To you as well. Shuwaski Young, former candidate for Secretary of State in Mississippi, has had a political and ideological shift and gives us some good stuff to think about there. Take a time out. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.